This is Eric from Pack Hacker, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Notabag Original, which I've been testing for the past 2 weeks. If you find this video helpful, make sure you hit subscribe so we can continue bringing content that helps you travel smarter. Let's dive in. So the material used on this tote is actually a 63% cotton and 37% nylon ripstop. I'm not sure how well you can see that because it is a pretty light bag, but there is that diamond ripstop texture on there. And this just, what really struck me about using this bag is the softness of this. Like, it is just extremely like a comfortable, like has a comfortable feeling to it. And a lot of, these packable totes, they have just a very like slippery feeling. And this one isn't really not slippery, but it's just very soft and it just feels very like comfortable. It's like if you took a piece of paper and rolled it up like 100 times and it's just like super soft. And I've rolled on about that for a long time, but it really feels great. But it also has like an inherent durability to it. Kind of see I'm yanking on it a little bit right now, and it doesn't really stretch, and I haven't had any issues with this, and I've really kind of roughed it up for a tote bag. Like, it's really been like dropped on the ground, and it's held up very well. And you can obviously see the stitching on the sides here, and there haven't been any loose threads or anything like that yet. So overall, just very happy with how this is held up. And it does have a waterproof coating, which kind of, the water beads a little bit, but if it does get wet, so it does a good job at not getting wet in light rain, but if it does get wet, it does take a little while to dry, which maybe is, the softness affects that, but that is something that's important to note if you live somewhere where it rains a little bit more often. And the only branding that we really have here is this Notabag on the side. No other branding, just a very nice, simple colorway. And something that struck me about this as well is that it feels pretty professional. So a lot of the packable bags that we've tested, or packable totes, I should say, that we've tested, when you open them up, they stay wrinkled. And this really doesn't. I mean, obviously there are a few wrinkles from just general use, but it really looks professional. So you could really use this at the office, or just, it looks a lot, professional is a hard word to use, but it just looks very good. And I really like that about this because other ones I've tested didn't necessarily look like that. So this tote obviously has the standard tote handles here. So if you wanted to just grab these and carry it, or you could probably throw it over your shoulder depending on your body size, you can do that. But also if you flip it over here, you can see that on the other side, these handles have this little loop here, and you can just pull this through on both sides. And now it can carry like a backpack. And as you saw, that transition was super smooth. And once you get used to it, you can really do it, in just like 2 or 3 seconds, which is a great feature. Sometimes when bags transition like that, you have to mess with adjusters and stuff like that, and you're literally just pulling it through a loop, which makes it very quick and very easy. But once you're in backpack mode, there are a few things to note. Obviously this back panel here isn't even really a back panel. There's no padding, there's no aeration, it's just the material. And then on the shoulder straps, there's no padding or aeration either. So if you were to really pack this thing out, you're gonna start to feel it on your back and on the shoulder straps here, because there is no structure to this material. It's very lightweight, it's packable, which is awesome, but it doesn't have that structure to really give you, comfort. But then again, this really isn't meant for comfort. It's meant for those times when, oh wow, I need a backpack and I don't have one. You have this packed away. So those are all important things to think about when considering this pack, or tote, I should say. So I've currently got it in backpack mode, and I'm not sure how well or how easy that you can see this, but I have packing cubes in there right now to display how much it's able to hold, and the packing cubes are kind of pushing into my back. And depending on what you have inside there, like a sweatshirt or something like that, like a packing cube is not hurting me right now. It actually feels pretty comfortable and kind of adds a bit of a back panel. But if you were to have something heavier or more oblong in there, and the only thing that's coming to my mind is apples, you're gonna feel it and it's not gonna be very comfortable, and you're gonna feel it on your shoulders as well. I've got it more in tote mode now, and I think something that's important to know is when it's in tote mode, it can look a little funky, especially on the side where the loops are. You can see it just looks a little bit funky. It's not that big of a deal, and you can kind of combat that by putting that side, let me figure out how to do it. Oh, here we go, this way. By kind of hiding that side closest to you. And it still looks a little bit funky, but at the end of the day, you can always just kind of carry it like this as well, like a grocery bag. So moving now into the main compartment, I just kind of wanted to show you how much extra space there is right now with how much is in there, so you can kind of get an idea of how much more you could really stuff in here if you wanted to. You can see the stuff ends right about where my thumbs are, and you've got all that extra material there. But moving on to what's actually in there, we've got a small or medium-sized packing cube, depending how you classify it, another one, and then a large or XL packing cube kind of holding down the bottom there. So quite a bit of space inside of this tote, and you really don't have any organizational help at all. It's really kind of on you, just a big chute. So if you're used to bagging your own groceries at the grocery store or anything like that, you're kind of used to, you know how to do that. And you have to do this with this, especially if you are going to somewhere like the grocery store where there are a lot of different sized items. And you do have the stuff sack attached, which is on the inside here. And initially when I first was using this, I had it turned inside out. So I thought that you couldn't put anything inside there because the opening was facing downward. But I have found that that is not the case. And you can use this to put things inside of. So if you wanted to throw your wallet, or if you have a smaller phone, you could slot that inside of there. And it is a nice place to put, just something small. If you got like a little candy bar that you wanted to keep away from the rest of the groceries, you can do that. But something that I think is important to note is that, so if you're carrying this in regular tote mode, you have access to your main compartment pretty much at all times because you're just carrying it like this, and you just open these and you're like, okay, cool, I can get my stuff inside of there. And so when you switch it into backpack mode, which as I said earlier, very quick and very seamless. So you have it on your back, so obviously you can't really have quick access, but it doesn't really close on the top. So there is a little bit of a closure there because this comes through and it makes it so it's not as wide. But if I had this on my back, someone could easily just kind of stick their hand in and grab something. So, I mean, depending what you have in there, if you're using it to carry apples from the grocery store, that's not going to be a big deal. I mean, if someone wants your apples, I mean, that would be a little bit disappointing, but it is if you're, carrying souvenirs or if you're using it kind of like a travel day pack or something like that, that transitions from a tote. It is important to note that if you're going through like a high volume area, that there is this little opening. So just definitely keep that in mind. But overall, I think that this tote operates as it should. You don't necessarily want a bunch of organizational details kind of bogging you down inside there, and having the option of a little pocket to stow your extra goodies is a nice inclusion. It's something that I wish I figured out earlier. I was just acting like a dummy for the first few days. But when it comes to packing this thing, you can kind of pull this out, that's what the stuff stack looks, and I like that that's attached so that way you can't lose it. So I always just kind of fold this down. You can see that I was folding it the other way, but just for showing you sake, fold, and then you can kind of use this as your guide for how big it should be. You obviously want it to be a little bit smaller than that, but I always just kind of go err on the smaller side, and then if I have a little extra material, it's not the end of the world. And then this is where I'm not that great at it, but I just kind of shove it inside of there from the top down. And then there you have it. That is what the Notabag looks like when you have it stowed inside. I believe I might have this stuff sack inside out right now because I think that the little tag pops out, but it's very small, and what I like most about it is how thin it is. So you can really slide this just about anywhere. You could put this, if you have a bigger coat, you could put this in your pocket and it really wouldn't bother you. You could still stick your hands in there and do whatever with it, but it's very, very thin. So you can put it inside your travel pack, your day pack, your sling, and it just doesn't take up that much room. And I feel like that's what a packable bag is supposed to do. It's supposed to do the job without taking up that much room, and this obviously does that very well. So there you have it, the Notabag Original. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel. We'll see you in the next one.